Hello everyone, this is Serious Trivia. Welcome back to another semi-final matchup as we have WoBD taking on Sleeping Phoenix. Now for this pair, they each get to pick their own map, and since Sleeping Phoenix is the higher seed, this match 1 between the two of them will be picked by Sleeping Phoenix, and he will also get first pick and ban. So let's take a look at what was banned in Phase 1, as Sleeping Phoenix kicked things off with a ban of Xu Huang, followed by Mu Lu, Zhang Jiao, Yan Baihu, Wu Tugu, and Liu Zhang. So the familiar list of powerful generals, with Xu Huang and Wu Tugu taken off, Messenger of Heaven is effectively banned with Zhang Jiao as well from Sleeping Phoenix side, and WoBD is answering by banning out the elephants, the invisible troops from Yan Baihu, and Liu Zhang, who has a pretty powerful but difficult to use ceasefire mechanic. And in response, for the first pick, Sleeping Phoenix gonna grab Yan Yu. So there is definitely some intentions to use White Tiger Raiders, and this map does have a very nice tree line, which we'll take a look at before we jump into the deployment phase, and we'll see why this particular pick makes sense. And to answer that, WoBD is grabbing Sun Jian, which is one tier below Xu Huang. It's effectively a Xu Huang replacement, as you get an unbreakable sentinel with a decent weapon and the Flame of the Phoenix ability. So whenever Xu Huang is banned, Sun Jian is definitely the go-to sentinel afterwards, and you also get a pretty decent list of unique units to field as well. Then the bans continue, with WoBD taking away Huang Fusong and those unbreakable Defender of Empire, and Sleeping Phoenix responding by banning away Sun Ce. So the Roar ability is gone, worried about the morale issues on his side and just an overall decent general. And then that leads to the next round of picks, as we have WoBD starting off the pick this time with Wenchou. So even though we did lose one Roar from Sun Ce, there's yet another Roar on Wenchou. Minus 30, but 4 uses versus minus 50 and 2 uses. Overall, being a champion means a lot of health, decent roster of units as well. And in response, we get Liu Yan, which is a very interesting strategist pickup here, as I think this can only mean one thing. It's going to be the Dongzhou Bing being picked up as a unit, as there's not much else you can pick up on Liu Yan. Perhaps no units is also a possibility, or maybe just 2 crossbowmen, as he is a strategist. There's nothing major about Liu Yan that makes him special, so this is definitely a very odd pick. And that leads to the next round and final round of bans, as Sleeping Phoenix is going to take away Dongzhuo, which has a powerful damage boost as well as armor reducing sword, and WoBD will answer with He Man being banned away to take away the hail of arrows and some decent yellow turban units. And that leaves both with a blind pick, and both players are actually going to pick up Lu Bu here. So a very interesting setup here. First time I think we had the blind third pick end up being the same general. Even though Lu Bu is a pretty clear slip through all the bans, I personally don't think he is that powerful. I think there's definitely some name recognition in the tournament, as he is our most picked general, but I think Xu Huang is a better pick and a better ban, and we can see Lu Bu slip through all the bans here and ends up getting picked up as the third pick for both players. So let's take a look at which units are placed onto these generals. And looking at the setup here for WoBD, we have quite a mix of units, starting with some infantry on Sun Jian. Saber infantry to be exact, definitely a good choice for melee versus melee combat for infantries. And then we have a Tiger Guard for guard passive, as well as a handmade guard for the guard passive. One can stay with generals a bit better, one can stay with the rest of the units depending on where the generals are going to be fighting at. We have 1 veteran Northern Saber infantry from Wenchou, and 6 very cheap calves, well, a mix of very cheap calves, plus 2 Xiliang cav on Lu Bu. So a pretty balanced comp throughout. No crossbow units, as the Sentinel, Champion, and Vanguard mix can't actually recruit crossbow, so we're not going to see any crossbow action from WoBD. And taking a quick glimpse of the map, you can see that patch of forest which starts in the middle of the red deployment. That is a river that's impassable behind. So this is the map that Sleeping Phoenix picks, and the side he picked actually plays a lot into that forest, which is why Yan Yu is the first pick here. And you can see he's going to be running White Tiger Raiders, some of those Yue Remnant Warriors, which has decent combat capabilities both offensively and defensively. They're not going to be stocked, as Yan Baihu was banned, so they don't get that passive. but staying in that forest can give them a bit of surprise factor. Then a full 6 units of Dongzhou on Liu Yan. I do question why Liu Yan has to be the general picked here. I don't think he brings anything else extra, and taking a strategist here definitely has a lot of risk. I mean, Liu Zhang was banned, so I understand that. Fa Zheng was probably the only other pick, and I'm not sure if Liu Yan's gonna work out here, but regardless, we have Lu Bu on both sides, and for Sleeping Phoenix, instead of picking up any cavalry units at all, he's going with 2 Protector of Heaven, so more infantry on his side. There are no real elephant threats to worry about, and they have a ton of spear units, so they're not really worried about cavalry fighting, as long as he can defend that patch of forest in a sense, and use his generals to poke and fight together with the units in the forest. It's a pretty good matchup. We'll see if this works out and see how deployment works. So deployment actually kind of interesting. The weather is being picked as rain, I think because Sleeping Phoenix is going to be starting out in that forest patch, which we can zoom into. He doesn't want the fire to burn down that forest, as he's going to hide his units inside. You can see the Yue Remnant Warriors hiding, the Dongzhou in the middle, and Protectors spread out as well. Liu Yan and Yan Yu over here. Yan Yu gives the Stalker trait, so technically your units can fire from the forest and have snipe, so they can stay invisible. But players are going to be able to see that. And then for Liu Yan, the ability Rallying the Troop, it's not a major ability. I don't think that really impact much. He does have Wisdom River combined with Stifling Deluge, so a pretty standard stock strategist with a slightly different ability here, no Inspiring Surge. Of course, Mending is going to be super useful. It's interesting to see that Lu Bu starting behind. I actually don't know what Sleeping Phoenix want to do, because these White Tiger Raiders are also out of position. They do have stock, and they do have snipe, so they can kind of surprise the enemy, but the moment you start firing, they see you, so it's not like you can hide there forever. I don't know why they're pulled up so forward. They're probably going to die to the generals. One thing I can think of is that Sleeping Phoenix might be thinking of running Lu Bu out and just using Dragon Gaze right here, just to stall, to buy them a little bit more time, and then they're going to get wiped. Probably going to rout and then recover. And then Lu Bu can do another Dragon Gaze over here, and they just play around the trees. I'm not sure how such a defensive composition is going to work, but we'll see. Because splitting your one general out here normally would be a bad idea. Lu Bu does have a fast horse, but the problem is you have your clone on the other side who can match you in speed. So once Lu Bu shows himself, especially with these cavalry so close, he might be in trouble right away and might not get to escape back to the safety of his forest, or at least might not escape back with full health. Right, so we have the initial poison arrows coming in, splashing onto the enemy just to get a little bit of poison, and then they're just gonna run, I guess. Kind of like snipe and then run, because you are staying invisible, so they can only charge towards you, and then once they get into distance, they see you. They will come after the unit, but they can slip away, technically. But there's a lot of cavalry. I don't know if they're slipping away anywhere. Alright, what is Lu Bu trying to do here? That unit basically dies after one shot. And I don't know if that's worth it. Alright, that's a free kill. It's not bouncing back either. And there's enough cavalry being sent in this area, that unit gets discovered as well. Lu Bu gets discovered, and the cavalry is right on top of him. I actually don't know what Sleeping Phoenix is trying to do here. Whatever it is, it's falling apart fast. It's going after the Tiger Guard. The risk of getting demounted is not too bad dismounted here, since they're moving as you come in from behind. Dragon Gaze is used prematurely, didn't stop any of the cavalry. He gets a slam on them, but you can see he's getting chunked. He's lost 6k health to knock out one Saber infantry. And I don't know if he's going to get away too cleanly. You can see the enemy will be a little bit faster. When you're chasing, you get extra speed boost. Well, I guess they start shooting. What happened to the firewall? Is to bait the enemy cavalry close and then you shoot them. That works. I mean, if he held his Dragon's Gaze, it would have been a lot better. You trap the enemy cavalry right here, It didn't need to be used here. He was already in the middle of the enemy saber infantry. He killed that unit one shot. Either save it so the enemy can't chase, or he should have just held it until here so the archers can actually do their damage on the shot cavalry. 7k health for one infantry. I think that's a terrible trade, especially since both White Tiger Raiders are now officially gone. So the terrain becomes pretty obvious. WBD knows exactly what he's going up against, basically a tree line full of enemies. He doesn't have any range options, so essentially they just have to charge. They have formations, so a nice little shield wall, nice little turtle. There's no poison on these, so they just had to go. If those poisoned White Tiger Raiders were kept in the forest, I think it would have been a lot better. They just essentially got sacrificed there. I think Sleeping Phoenix was a little bit too confident of his ability to snipe and then just move. That was just not going to be possible. Alright, there's also no real threat that kind of forced D to charge at this tree line. But they could be in a staring contest for a bit longer. It's not like there's anything super long range or a trebuchet forcing you to get close. But D knows he has to make a move, so we got the turtle formation going up. And it's going to be creeping up. Lu Bu's going to try to stop that. You can see all the cavalry getting ready, and the generals getting ready. I would actually value Lu Bu's health a bit more than trying to stop something like a turtle formation, because you can manually select targets, so you don't have to shoot that. They could go for a fight. I mean, what they don't want is actually a real charge, because Sun Jian can do impetuous charge and all units get a flat 250 melee charge bonus. That's actually massive for even sword infantry. Okay, so they're kind of detecting a little bit of auto fire. It's hard for WBD to approach because he actually can't tell where all the units are. I got Rally the Troop, which I don't think do anything here. Okay, so they bump into a few units. They're trying to gauge out where the enemy are, how wide their formation is, and this is sort of like a free slam for Lu Bu. Pretty early use. They're not even gonna stay for the slam, which is probably wise. Oh, Lu Bu is going out for the trade. They want to kill Lu Bu here. Good choice of formation. You go into circle. There's really not much to slam. Oh, he slammed way too early. Dragon Gaze right now. Get out. Lost only 1k there. Did a little bit of damage. Pretty good use on the ability here to get out. I think once again, when the cavalries are there... Oh, Lu Bu got such good hits on him. He was at 17k, now he lost 8k on the run back because the enemy Lu Bu was chasing. And now with Lu Bu injured, WBD is a little bit more confident leaving his generals here, especially since they're wasting their arrows here. We got a Mending. Now using as a heal isn't going to do much. Mending only heals for 1.6k. That's not really going to do much to Lu Bu here. You can see he's getting his health back a little bit, but that's not going to restore him. Oh, they're marching out. Additional bonus of the Stalker passive is that they will get higher melee evasion. Yeah, the line's too wide. Because the Stalker passive is only in the circle. They probably should keep all the units together. Ooh, 2 slams, and that unit is just gone. They can keep them together, the passive will be active longer. And you can fend off the enemy general. Okay, we've got a charge bonus increase, a rear flank. What is Lu Bu trying to do here? Square formation answer, that's not bad. He freezes everyone, and then what? Slams? So he halts their charge, gets a really good slam. Let's get out. And somehow don't get chased by the enemy Lu Bu. It's a speed difference now. Yeah, I don't think he can outrun this. He's going to get hit on the way back. He's at 11k. He got out clean here. That was a good time, Dragon's Gaze. But you can see Wolby is just chasing him down now. Lu Bu versus Lu Bu, there's no openings here. And there's nothing that's really coming to help. And they're going for the units once Lu Bu can't fight this, and they're not here to help him. And all these units are going to get slammed. They're out of their formation again. Slam, slam, roar. Wow. And WBD's just backing up his infantry. They don't need to get involved. Let his generals do some of the dirty work, and then regroup and wait. Yeah, the strategist is lagging behind. They need to get the strategist in there to actually fight. If you're going to pick a strategist, you should use them. And we should just fight with mending. Even with Liu Yan here. 3v1. They can't really dismount and fight either, but if Liu Yan's here, at least you can stop the enemy from slamming your units. You have to use Stifling Deluge to halt them. I understand there was a lot of lag between the two players since I think Sleeping Phoenix had to travel during this time and he's on the road, but yeah, there we go. Liu Yan's finally coming in. Since it's peer-to-peer, the lag should be similar on both sides, at least to a degree. It's not like one player can play, the other can't play. But you're just going to basically have staggered commands. But essentially this idea of Lu Bu going into poke by himself versus the enemy 3 generals come in to poke, that's where this big difference is, and the lack of cavalry to respond. Like, Sleeping Phoenix Lu Bu can't do as much as WBD's Lu Bu because he doesn't have the cavalry support. And he doesn't have the general support either. And they can do their slams, they can do their roars. Have another heal. I mean, the issue here is Sleeping Phoenix not willing to fight General. Oh, we have a dismount. Lu Bu got knocked off. Lintro got knocked off, so while this is not a voluntary one, this is involuntary. So, if Sleeping Phoenix want to do it, he can actually spread his troops away now and hide the generals because they can't catch them anymore. And then they can fight with Lu Bu together and actually pick on the enemy units. This could be an opportunity, but they need to actually pull all the units away. Or else they're going to get slammed on foot. Alright, running them in. They could do a 3v1 on Sun Jian, perhaps. Fight away from these two. WBD knows he needs his unit, or else they're just going to get kited forever. Yeah, Liu Yan needs to run. Alright, we got a mending usage. Fight now. If they're going to use the mending, this is when you fight. It's a high stat advantage right now. They should get off the horse and actually just fight. This is not good for Yan Yu. He has really high stats. He's evading a lot of his hits, but he's on horse. He's getting whacked here. Sending the infantry in. If Liu Yan's not close, they can't hold them with infantry. They're just going to get slammed on. Yeah, WBD's just going to keep his space. This is what happens when you don't bring any cavalry. I mean, fortunately, they knocked 2 generals off their horse, so that's their opening. Trying to match that play with generals not really meant for that, I'm not sure I agree. It's a great slam, but you're just burning your health at this point. They're pulling away. Strategists need to fight. You might be scared of them losing some health and routing away, sure, but what's the point of recruiting one? Like, they're safe and full health and doing nothing. Just go do something. With Mending on one side, using Wisdom River on the other side, there's no support generals here. They could easily kill one. Especially since the units are getting involved. They're just getting free slammed on. They lost way too much here. Yeah, the slams coming in a little bit late there. You got the resistance coming in, just here to protect the generals a little bit. They're chasing after Liu Yan. They're getting the units through. At least it's not enough left to get slammed, basically. Liu Yan's going to outrun the position a little bit too much. Looks like Sleeping Phoenix was also dismounted. Uh-oh, Liu Bu's gone. He can't run away now. He's on foot. Unless you get a Mending and then fight back a little. No, don't try to run. Too little, too late. Amy's trying to take out the cavalry. They should try to fight. We forgot about one Yue Remnant Warriors as well. I mean, you got a horse. Do what you can. It's not a bad move. I mean, both generals are on horse. Yan is not going to stay unbreakable. I mean, having that unit there, at least the fortunate side effect is we're not getting into army loss yet. But that's going to be soon. Yeah, Liu Yan just ended up not helping out enough and still suffered the same fate, right? They're going to kill everything you have and then knock you to about half health and then knock you out. Might as well come in and try to kill one of them. I think people are not really picking strategists and using strategists at all. Now we got army loss kicking in, and it's going to be over. They don't have to fight anymore. And that's the match. So pretty interesting idea, fighting with the river behind you and this tree line, trying to use the stalker passive. You're not really encouraging the enemy to come to you, using Liu Bu as the only bait. That plant didn't work out that well because BD also happened to pick Liu Bu, and you have the speed matchup. They have enough cavalry units to kind of chase together. There's a couple good opportunities where they overchased in the beginning, where if BD had, not BD, but Sleeping Phoenix had saved his Dragon's Gaze and froze the enemy cavalry in front of all those archers, could have easily killed 3 or 4 of those cavalry units early on, kind of swayed, or at least swing the fight. Or if you're holding a position like this, you want some sort of infinite ability usage. Liu Chong was not banned by either side. If, in this case, Sleeping Phoenix had some sort of infinite ability usage, whether that's Liu Chong's Show of Force, whether that's Cao Ren's infinite heal, where you can send Liu Bu out to poke, and then you come back and you heal, then you're forcing your opponent to come fight you where you're favorable, right? Where you get the Stalker passive, you get the extra additional melee evasion, you get the extra forest stats. But in this case, that was no incentive for WBD to really bring the fight into the forest, and that meant Sleeping Phoenix had to go out and fight as his army got picked off by the enemy 3 generals, who were more than happy to run around and smash them to pieces. So looking at the damages, Liu Bu did amazingly well for both sides. That was sort of the main unit used by Sleeping Phoenix here, 387 kills, but likewise, WBD used all 3 of his generals together, and they just went to town against all the enemy units. You can see massive damages. None of his infantry ever clashed to the front. You see they have 0 kills on most of them. There's a few units who got involved late, and Liu Bu smashed most of those units up as well. Sleeping Phoenix's Liu Bu. So definitely a display of generals not recruiting cavalry units, not fighting with their generals to stop the enemy generals from taking your infantry apart. Definitely what resulted in this defeat for Sleeping Phoenix, and we look forward to their second match. It's going to swing heavily in WillBeD's favor, as the second match is going to be played on map of his choice. So Sleeping Phoenix is going to have to figure some stuff out to pull things back to a tie and force a game 3. So we'll see if he's able to do that, and we'll see you guys then. Bye.